Hello, welcome to the With Love from Liv show. My name is Liv and I love that you're here. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am excited to kind of dive into a potentially controversial topic, as you know I like to do. And today I really want to kind of focus on this concept of deserving, because I see this come up a lot. I hear this from my clients. I hear this from a lot of online coaches, and just otherwise kind of in this space, I'm hearing so much about, if whatever you're asking for is out of your reach, then it's because you don't believe that you deserve it, right? Like, tell me that you've heard that before, right? I 100% used to subscribe to that type of thinking. And when I first started getting into this work, then that was always where I was looking was, okay, here's what I'm asking for. This is this goal. This is the relationship, whatever that I want. And it feels out of reach. And so I must not believe that I deserve a good relationship. And the more that I've done this work, both internally and with clients, the more that I have just come to realize that that concept is insane. Like, I don't think that most people are thinking that they don't deserve anything. And yes, I know a lot of people will say, well, it's subconscious, right? We subconsciously think that we don't deserve something, and so we reject it. And I just don't really think that I agree with that. And I don't think that I believe it anymore. And here's why. When it comes to your goals, and so, for me, it was, okay, I'm 26. I have never had a long-term relationship. And so I'm never going to have one. And, why is that? Well, it's not because I didn't think that I deserved or didn't deserve a relationship. It was because I didn't know what a healthy relationship looked like. I didn't know what it felt like. And yes, I have been blessed to have good examples in my life who have healthy relationships. But I mean, observing and executing are two different things, right? So I was thinking about that, and, did I really not believe that I deserved a good relationship? Well, no, that wasn't really it at all. It was, I couldn't see a healthy relationship. I couldn't see myself in a healthy relationship. And so it wasn't a matter of, do I deserve it or not? It was a matter of, can I conceptualize it or not? And this was kind of coming back to, do I know what it feels like to be in healthy connections? And I think that this is kind of where a lot of people are using the term deserving, and it's the wrong term, because it's not about, do I believe that I deserve this? It's, can I see this? Right? Can I conceptualize what it feels like? And what it feels like is really ultimately the key, because this is quantum theory, right? That everything is vibration, more or less. Obviously, it's more complex than that, but the idea is that everything is vibration, and so vibrations match. And this is always what I'm telling my clients, especially my dating clients, when they're telling me, well, I keep pursuing the wrong people for me. So is it because I believe that that's the right person and that I don't get to have a healthy connection? And yeah, in the beginning, I was like, yeah, I think that's it. I think that you don't believe that you deserve the good, healthy connection. So how do we help you to deserve it? And what I was missing as a coach, and I have since learned to correct this, is that it really isn't about deserving at all. And really, it's about, how can we create feelings of having what it is that you want before you have it. And when you make that shift from, okay, well, do I deserve it or not, to, well, can I just conceptualize what it feels like to have it, then yeah, that could seem a little bit harder, because how do you conceptualize and feel something that you've never had? I'm so glad you asked, because this is also where a lot of, especially like relationship people, will say, well, you have to love yourself before you can love someone else. And I think that if you really dive into that, there's truth there. But on the surface, it's false, because you can't lack love. Okay, you can't not have love. It's something that is part of you. It's something that literally is ingrained in the very molecules of your being. And so there is no love first and like love here first and love outside second. There is no order to love. Love just is. It just exists. You can't lack love and you can't deserve love, because love is you. And so you can't lack what you are, right? And so it's not really a matter of, can you love yourself first before you love someone else? Really, it's a matter of, have you taken the time to become aware of what it feels like to be loved, right? So just kind of sit with that for a second. And this is ultimately where I built that bridge when I was first kind of asking myself that question of, do I believe that I deserve love? And instead of asking, well, do I deserve it or do I not deserve it? Do I believe I deserve it or not? I took that piece out of the equation, because it's never in question. You can't lack something, or you can't disbelieve something that is part of you. I mean, technically you can, but it's a non-issue. And so you don't have to make it an issue. You don't have to bring it to your awareness. And in fact, you can start getting into this space where, instead of asking, well, do I believe that I deserve love? Instead, you start asking, do I actively feel love? And you can feel that anytime. You don't actually need to, like go through this whole process of falling in love with yourself. And, like, I don't know, we make it really, really complicated, but really all it is, have you taken the time today to feel like you're loved? Have you taken some time today to appreciate yourself? Have you taken some time today to acknowledge that you're great and that you get to live life and that you were blessed to wake up today? And if you can start shifting away from deserving and lacking and even seeking or saying, oh, I want to find love, that is inherently kind of putting out this vibration that it's outside of you and that it doesn't exist within you. And that's not true. Love is you, and you are love. And so it's not something you can deserve. It's not something you can lack. It's just something that you are. And this is a huge part of actually what I do as a coach, and what I do in my own life is I help people get into a space of not just, do I believe this or not, but actually getting to a space of embodiment. This is huge, because I think this is actually a big missing piece in a lot of the self-help world, both in therapy and in coaching, is that a lot of people are really, really focusing on, well, what's the belief there, and what's all of that, and of course I talk about belief and I talk about story, but more than where your mind is at, where is your mind and your body? Can you bring communication and calm and semblance between your mind saying, I am loved, and your body feeling, I am loved. And that's something that you have access to right now, whether you are single or you're in a relationship or you're in a marriage that you don't want to be in. You can sit at any given time and feel loved. And if that is something that you really, really struggle with, then that's where your work is. The work is asking the question of, why don't you feel loved? Is it because you don't know what it feels like, and so you need help, you need a mentor, you need somebody to help you get into that space of knowing the feeling, because it's unfamiliar to you, or you have conflated the feeling with something that's unhealthy? Or, has it just been something that you've been running away from because it's easier to self-reject, and it's easier to run away, and it's easier to avoid than it is to sit and just be present with yourself and to feel the feelings of truly being loved, right? So when it comes down to having what it is that you want, what it is that you're asking for. And I say this with confidence because honestly, I have a very successful business. Like, I have done very well, not just in like building a business, but also in helping lots of people find someone. Okay. I have seen many marriages. I have seen long-term relationships. And yeah, sometimes the long-term relationships don't end up evolving into marriage. And that's okay, because for me as a dating coach, my objective overall is not getting you married. Okay. That could be your objective with working with me. But I'm not here to get you married. I'm here to help you feel the true embodiment of the feeling of love. Right. And this is just not separate from belief, but it's a step deeper. It's taking what is your belief and asking that question. And if you've been listening to the show, if you've been following me online, that I am a big proponent of looking at your stories and analyzing your beliefs. But beyond that, you have to also be able to get into a place where you can embody the belief that you want. So it's one thing to say, well, I have faith that Jesus will come, right? Like that's one thing to say or to think. But to actually be able to wake up in the morning and live your life as if, guess what? I know that Christ atoned for my sins, and that gives me permission to make mistakes. That means it's okay that I mess up and that I try something new and that I get it wrong and that I take risks, because I've been atoned for, because I'm not going to lose my salvation. And when you can start allowing yourself to live as if what you believe is your reality, that's the difference between a belief and an embodiment, right? Is I could say, well, and this is in the beginning, before I had my business, before I met my husband, beliefs that I had were, well, I believe that I will get into a relationship. I believe that I can be my own boss. I believe that I can help other people date. I believe that I can be a voice here. And that's all well and good. But as long as that's the extent of what I was saying and thinking, then I wasn't getting those things. Okay. I wasn't making progress because I had stopped at this is what it is that I believe. And I had to take it a step further, and I had to start living as if I was already cared about and connected and seen, because that's what I wanted in a relationship. And this really changed ultimately what I was looking for in a relationship, because this whole concept of embodiment and feeling what it is that I want and embodying it before I had it. Okay, this is back to quantum theory, right? And to my clients, I call this changing your radio frequency. And I'm pretty sure I've talked about it on the podcast before, but it's kind of the step after. It's the action in spite of the belief, or in honor of the belief, right? And this is a huge principle of faith that I also think is oftentimes missing from the conversation, because for a long time I could say, well, I believe in God. Like, yeah, I could say that, and I could believe it, and that's all well and fine. But what was I doing with that belief, right? And it was the same with dating. It was the same with my business. It was the same with how I wanted to impact other people. And so it wasn't until I got myself into the actual feeling and living as if what I believed was actually true that I started to see what I believed in my reality. And so shifting from, okay, I want a husband because I want to be a wife, because I was raised to believe that I should be a mom, because that's what I think is good. Like, that's all fine. I don't think there's anything like inherently bad about that, but also it wasn't enough. And so then I started thinking, like, and here's the thing is, you listening to this, and I say this all the time, so I'm going to say it again. You listening to this right now, you could be married. If you're not married right now, you could be 100% to someone in your past. I guarantee there has been some person in your life who would marry you right now if you wanted to, and you don't want to marry them. Okay. So it's not actually about, do I deserve to get married or not? It's about, do I know what I want in that marriage? Do I know what it feels like to be seen? And for me, I didn't have that awareness. I didn't know what it felt like to be really seen by the guys that I was dating, because I was always so concerned with, well, will they wife me? Like, am I doing everything right so that they'll want to marry me? And in that fear, because that's what it is, I was being insincere. And so I was distancing myself from the desire to get married, because I didn't know what a marriage would really be for me, what it would mean, what it looked like to have hard conversations and to be vulnerable and to be seen and to let somebody love me through mistakes, right? And so that was a big thing that shifted and changed when I decided that I was ready to actually get married, and it wasn't, this is what I want to do because everyone else is doing it. And I got into this space of, okay, well, why do I want to get married? Right? Like, if I took away the social stigma and I took away, like what I believed that meant about my salvation, and I took away like all of that, why do I want to get married? Well, for me, it just came down to, I want to be connected. Okay, I want somebody to accept me, and I want that to be forever. Okay, so for me, I'm not 100%, of course, taking out exaltation out of the mix, but I was taking out the pressure from the outside, from church, from, family members, or like whoever puts pressure on you. And I was saying, well, what does it mean to get married for me? Not to get married for my mom, not to get married for my dad, not to get married for the church, not to get married for my Relief Society president, like whoever. And just, what does it mean to get married for me? How does it feel to be in a long-term relationship. And that I had no concept of. I had no idea, because I was freaked out by commitment, because I didn't know how to be myself. I didn't know how to show up really vulnerably and to allow myself to make mistakes and to be seen, because I wasn't seeing myself. I wasn't embodying the feelings that I wanted to have in the relationship within. So once I started to feel, okay, here's what it's like to feel connected, to feel seen, to be cherished, to be valued by other people, because I'm doing that to me, I'm valuing me, I'm seeing me. And then from that, I can show other people, here's me, here's who I am. That's the difference in believing or deserving and embodying, is you're actually just living as if you already have what it is that you're asking for, because you do, right? I know this is going to get like a little abstracter out there, but the illusion is that you lack. Anything that you ask for, you're saying, oh, I want this because I don't have it. And that's not true. You do have it. You just haven't allowed it into your actual existence in reality and space, because you haven't taken the time to learn what it's like to feel the feelings of having it, right? I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions about this, it's something that I'm excited to kind of pivot in my messaging. If you haven't noticed, I've started to do this because I think that the construct of deserving is doing more harm than it is good. And I don't think it's coming from anywhere like malicious. If everybody, like as a coach, I'm always like, oh yeah, you deserve that. But I'm phasing out of it, because I don't like the idea that you can deserve anything, because I don't like the idea that you can't deserve anything. And I did a couple of podcast episodes about this where I talked about how God gives you blessings, whether you are good or bad, right? This is why the pride cycle exists, because you can be bad, quote unquote, and still be blessed. We see it all the time. And so when you can start taking out those labels of good and bad and start looking at, well, am I connected to what I want, or am I separated from what I want? Am I connected to the source of all that I want, which is God? Or am I believing that everything is just coming from the world or from my own efforts? I think that space right there of I'm responsible for everything that I have, it all comes from me, or it all comes from the world, I think is inherently going to make you miserable. I think it's inherently going to tie what you want and your blessings to the concept of earning or deserving. And the disconnection of those things and stepping into the space of, I get to have, like, whether I am good enough or not, like that doesn't matter, because I still get to have, I still get to be blessed. And so if I can start taking out the judgment of, oh, was that a good behavior or a bad behavior? And just start asking, did I feel the way I wanted to feel? Or did I feel a way that I don't want to feel? Then that's going to start guiding you to allowing way, 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 way more to open up to you, because you're no longer earning or working for what it is that you want. I actually don't think that you work for anything. I don't think that we actually create any results at all. Because if you think about it, God already created everything, right? Like we're taught that. God created everything. If you want to say the universe, then you're more than welcome to, but God created everything. It already exists. Okay. So like, whoever you're looking for to date, they're already out there. You don't have to create them because that'd be pretty weird, right? And so if you're not creating the outcomes, then what are you creating? Well, you're creating the feeling of what it's like to have the outcomes. That's where your creation process lies. And the more that you can root into that and say, okay, how can I create the feeling of having what it is that I'm asking God for? Then I can bring that thing into me so much faster, because that feeling of having starts to dispel the illusion that you lack it, that you don't have it, that it's inaccessible to you, that it's out of reach, whatever. And it draws all of that into you so much faster because you become non-resistant to it, right? If you have any questions about any of this, completely feel free to reach out to me, connect with me on Patreon, where you can ask me questions and I'll answer them, because I won't answer them on Instagram. But I encourage you to start asking yourself, do you know what it feels like to have what it is that you're asking for, or what it is that you want? And if you don't know what it feels like to have it, instead of looking at, well, is it because I think I don't deserve it? Ask yourself, is it just because I don't know what that feels like? Because that, by the way, is a much simpler process to go through and work through than to go through the process of like deserving. Because if you go down that road of deserving, it's a never-ending journey. Okay, you're always going to have to do the work of feeling like you deserve something, because it's like, well, once I feel like I deserve a first date, okay, well, now I have to go through the process of feeling like I deserve a second date. And so like, you're always in this process, and oh my gosh, it's just exhausting. Okay, life gets to be so much more fun, so much more easy than we're making it out to be. And I think that if you take out and remove and don't think about the concept of deserving, honestly, it makes having and getting and living and being successful and having love and all of that way, way, way easier. Okay. If you want to do this work with me, I do have a few spots open for one-on-one. These spots are going to fill up looking like before the end of the month. So definitely you want to jump on that. And just know that if you're working with me, my intention is to help you make it easy. Make love easy, make success easy, make your life easy, because it is not noble to suffer. It is not noble to be miserable. It is not your design to toil and all of that. I'm a very firm believer that your design is to be so abundant, so successful, so loved, so supported by everything, be it money, resources, opportunities, food, whatever, that you get to wake up every day and just enjoy the heck out of your life. I know, because that's what I do. My life is like that. And you might hear that and that offends you, or you get triggered, or you make assumptions, whatever. I don't actually care, because you can do it too. And I'll show you how, if you're ready to learn. So if you do want to work together one-on-one, those are the messages that I will answer in my DMs on Instagram. You can also apply to work with me. I'll send you to the application process anyways. That link is in my bio, but I'll also drop it in the show notes. And may you have easy success, easy love, easy life. Let it be easy. I will talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in.